So Raincatcher was really helpful because in the past, I've gone through M&A, but it's been from a consulting perspective. I've actually never acquired a business on my own. So Raincatcher was very helpful, even though they were representing the seller. The broker and the team from Raincatcher did a great job of helping guide both myself as the buyer and the seller through the full end-to-end process from initial discovery all the way through final acquisition. So my background for this business purchase goes back to my career working as a respiratory therapist right after high school. You know, I knew what it was like to be with people, supporting them from a health standpoint, providing therapy, providing treatments. But then from a business transaction standpoint, my career as an accountant really helped me in a lot of ways because I was able to, for over the course of 15 years working in corporate America, working at Big Four accounting firms, I was able to see how the due diligence process worked and how mergers and acquisitions worked, and so that gave me insight into knowing the right questions to ask as part of an acquisition of this business. So I was looking for that one special thing. The special thing being, how can I get involved in my local community to provide a service that I'm passionate about, but also leverage my business background plus my healthcare background. What attracted me to this business listing was really two things. One, the first thing was it was local and it was providing in-home care to our senior community, primarily those seniors who want to stay in their home and age in place gracefully. Secondly, just actually meeting the owner of the business. She had built it over 25 years on her own, but just seeing her passion for the service that's being provided to the elders in our community, you know, getting to know her heart for serving this community were the two primary things that attracted me to the business. There were other similar businesses that I looked at, and we'd looked into franchising initially in this industry, in the elder home care industry. But then the more I looked into it, it felt like that model wasn't the right model for me, a franchise model. I wanted to have a little more flexibility in terms of running a business. So then, fortunately, I started searching and putting the word out and came across the posting through Raincatcher. Raincatcher did a great job of keeping my mind at ease just because they had clear experience throughout the whole process, all the way from the initial discovery, getting to the letter of intent, even the front-end negotiation of that letter of intent. They brought in the right advisors throughout the process and allowed my attorney, the buyer attorney, as well as the seller attorney play the right role. And then all the way from the letter of intent process to drafting the purchase agreement, which was about a 6-month timeline. They did a great job of also helping balance the different risks that each of us had from our perspective. So the seller obviously has certain risks that they're trying to mitigate, and then myself as the buyer as well, I'm trying to protect myself, and Raincatcher did a great job of balancing both the buyer and seller interests throughout the whole process. Raincatcher, from a buyer's perspective, provides very specialized expertise to navigate a local small business acquisition, and they provide a hands-on approach throughout the whole process to put both the buyer and seller at ease and get a deal done. What surprised me the most about this experience working with Raincatcher was their team's transparency between both the buyer and seller and balancing both of our concerns and questions as we went through the process. There are a couple things that I would recommend a buyer do as you get closer to the date of acquisition. Is one, work to the extent you can with the former owner to make sure that there's a good communication plan in place, as well as a transition plan in place for the first 30, 60, 90 days. The second thing I would make sure you have in place as well for the day of the transaction is that you have the new employment agreements ready to go for your future team. And then the third thing I would highly recommend a buyer look into is providing financial incentives to retain that team over the first 6 to 12 months of the new business. I would absolutely recommend bringing in Raincatcher as a broker, and they do a good job of not only being that middleman between the buyer and seller, but they do a good job of providing kind of holistic advice throughout the whole process, and just kind of being in sometimes I know the team with Raincatcher, I use them just as a sounding board, sometimes to vent through the process, and they did a good job of listening to my questions and concerns, and so I would highly recommend engaging Raincatcher in that process.